All right, so I have what to do. Maybe we'll just do like a general troubleshooting. So navigation, communication, resources, getting on, what to do, and troubleshooting. Are there any other sort of pieces in there? Okay, so I think to turn into agenda, I'm going to start with a demo. And that'll just, I will walk through each of the different spaces and kind of show you how it's organized and what you can do in the different spaces. And part of that, so that's the navigation. Part of that will be addressing uploading resources and teams, right? And then part of that will also address kind of communication, this, and then this. And so I think what we'll do is I'll go through a demo, stop me, ask questions, and we should hit most of those things. After I'm done with the demo, if there are any other issues, like getting on, things like that, then we'll make sure that it's set. Sound good? All right. All right, so we're gonna move into the using team functionality section here, and then after that, you'll have more time to poke around, ask questions, and kind of just have me here as a support if you need it. Okay, so you have a public life on collaboration in common, and you have a private life. Your public life is everything that happens within MyCIC, right? So every person who joins collaboration in common, whether they're in the ILC or not, has MyCIC. And so all of the teams, all of the collections, those are public. So if you're thinking about, well, I want to create a team and invite maybe my PLC. You could do that under MyCIC, but you would not do that in the Instructional Leadership Core section, right? So anything under MyCIC, you're welcome to make teams. You're welcome. I mean, it's up to you. And if you make a team, you become the administrator of the team, and you can invite people to your team, and you can share stuff in your team, and people can request to get in, but you don't have to let them in. And it can be your team, and you can just run it how you want. And then you can also create collections. And collections, if you think of, I think of Pinterest boards. In terms of, I like having a collection where it's just where I put the stuff that I'm browsing, right? Or it could be something formal like like professional learning PowerPoints, or it depends. It could be something that you use for casual purposes, like just to gather the stuff that you're browsing, or it could be something that you are curating and sharing with the public. So I'll show you what I mean. So I've created a couple. So here's a collection that I've created, for example. Professional learning, history, social science, ELA, ELD, and literacy. Now I have a very active bot that is curating stuff for me as well. But this is, let's see. Oops. No, this isn't the one I want to show. Here's a good California Go Open. So these are resources that I've curated in a collection, right? So whenever I come across an article about the Go Open initiative, I put it in here, right? So and you can have as many collections as you want. If you're thinking about you want to group multiple collections together, I can make you a channel if you want. So this is collections are all just about curating and collecting resources. Okay. So I'm going to cover the team functionality in the ILC. But just so you know, MyCIC is your public life. Everything north of that is your private life. Okay. So we have the Instructional Leadership Core private team. This is for the Instructional Leadership Core only, right? Within this space, we have kind of a structure that we've developed that we think works really well for a network. We have a member resources library, and I mentioned that this morning, which is not intended for everybody to share, but it's really, we're trying to keep it as clutter-free and really highly curated as possible so that you can find what you need without having to like sift through a bunch of other stuff. In addition to the member resources, we have the ILC Commons, which is just, it's your wide open, I want to share with all of my ILC colleagues about stuff that's going on. And then you have your regional teams. And then you have any other team that you want to make, right? Like, so you are totally free in the ILC private space to create a new team. Maybe you came to a conference and you connected with somebody who's also working hard to kind of build better literacy practices in the sciences. So you could create literacy in the sciences as a team and have that specific team to keep you connected in between the convenings. Right, so those are the different spaces. Member resources. This is by far, this has been a big challenge. Right, the questions that we get are more often than not related to where do I go to get the doc to do the thing that I have to do? And so I just want to review, just want to show you how to do this. So member resources, up at the top, you can toggle through the different views. So if I'm looking for stuff, I'm going to click in the library. And these are the categories. If you use Google Classroom, they work just like topics. And categories filter the resources, so it refines them. Now, for our purposes, project information, project documentation, PL planning, and conference materials, those filter to single documents. Right? So for project documentation, it no longer filters to all of the things associated with project documentation. It filters directly to a doc that we keep updated on the back end that will have now and forevermore all of the files that you need for project documentation, right? Hopefully this helps kind of clarify and reduce the amount of work involved in finding what you need. Okay, if you don't like the framing, right? Some people, the collaboration and common framing, I don't want to have a discussion with a member, I just want to have it open as a tab. You can always click on View Original. It'll pop open as a tab in your browser. And there it is. All right. So basic overview of our team space. Let's talk about interacting with the ILC Commons, because I know that maybe, especially if you've chosen this session, you might feel it might feel a little risky to participate in a dialogue in a platform that you don't fully understand, right? Or that you're confused about. And so let's use the ILC Commons to kind of walk through some different ways that you could maybe share resources or engage in dialogue with the people in the ILC in between convenings. So, ILC Commons. This means that I'm in the space where I can share openly with all of the members in the ILC, generating notifications for them in some cases, so bear that in mind. You have a couple of options for how you can share things. So, first option is you can add an article. And when you click on Add an Article, it gives you a space to insert a link. And so it's important to know that you can add a web-based resource, like a link to, well, let's just add something. Let's search. So let's say that I have, what does growth look like for a student who isn't having success on standardized tests? No, let's not do that one. Let's do a different one, because everyone's going to see what I should. There we go. 5 ways to make peer feedback effective in your classroom. So I have a couple of ways that I can share this resource with my fellow ILC colleagues. I can use our handy dandy Chrome extension up here. and I can just send it on over to the ILC team space without leaving my browser, or I can tried and true copy and paste. So when the resource comes into the library, or comes into the ILC Commons rather, it's standardized. So if you're looking at the EdSurge, it's this, it's website, it's pop-out text, it's all that stuff. When it comes in, we standardize the look and feel of the article. We strip out all the framing and all the ads and all that, right? You also might notice that we have a little highlighter. So let's say I want to kind of point to this and mark an insight. Highlight it, heart it, and that's our sort of our social validation in collaboration in common comes through hearting other people's insights. So the more sort of, the more insightful insight that you pick, the more likely you are to be rewarded for that with hearts. Every platform has its sort of like social validation mechanism. That's ours. You can also add this to a discussion. Right? So let's say that, I want to talk to Donna about this. I use the @ symbol. And then I start to type in Donna, and her name will pop up. And then I can I'm going to type with one hand. And then by using Donna's name, I have generated a notification for Donna, letting her know that I desire communication. And she needs to turn on the computer and talk to me, because I'm needy. Right? Did it pop up? Right. So it's a sidebar conversation. It's a literal sidebar conversation. So that's how you share a resource with ILC members, with using a link. You can also share stuff that is upload a document. And you can bring in documents from your Dropbox, from your virtual drives, like your Dropbox, your Box, or your Google Drive, or you can upload them directly from your computer. And you just click on Choose File. Okay. So let's say, no, I can't save that. Let's say that I wanted to share. What can I share safely? Let's say that I wanted to share here. Let's say that I wanted to share an assessment that I designed. Right? So one thing I can do is I can find the assessment that I want to share, the document, Word file, PowerPoint, whatever, and click open. And so it still ingests it, it still reads the language and does all that stuff, but it doesn't change the look and feel. So if you have a PowerPoint, it's not going to standardize it in the way that we do with web-based articles. You can adjust the title and description. This one is about, this particular assessment is about students and esports. Should video game be a competitive sport? For schools. Fascinating. So it takes a while to load. All right, and so, I mean, same thing though, right? Like you can still do your annotating, right? You can still kind of do those annotations, the insights. You can still add them to discussion. You can still, maybe I want to call Donna again because I'm getting lonely. You can still do all of those things. It's just a Word file. And if you want the original, you click on View Original. Instead of taking you to a website, it'll just, and you're not changing the document by inciting it or discussing it. It's like a transparency over the top that you're writing on. Yeah, it's to mark. So you'd want to just follow it back to the original. Yeah, using the @ symbol to generate the notification is the best way. Um, Absolutely. And if you are considering, or if you have a virtual community that you're considering, that you're kind of, how do I get people to engage on this platform? Um, it's really helpful to kind of have a strategy, a virtual engagement strategy. And kind of my guidance with people is think about what are the things that make people feel a part of face-to-face communities, and what could be some virtual corollaries to that, right? So the validation, the follow-up, when somebody posts for the first time, like that is such a critical thing, like the first post being followed up with, um, and then also having events and referring them back to these places to, referring them back regularly, even if you're doing an email communication or a Zoom call. So, and I'm happy to, Julie, I'm always happy to discuss virtual engagement strategy if you want.